Hello, everyone. I wanted to create a separate space to talk UTSA versus Texas State exclusively. As a lot of you know, on Wednesday, my normal live show, Dr. Campos, UTSA's athletic director, will be joining me the first half of that show. So the second half is when I'll be able to get to UTSA versus Texas State. And most of that I want to dedicate to your questions that you ask in the live chat. I'm sure there'll be some questions left over from the Lisa Campos discussion, but I wanted to talk specifically on this forum or in this forum about UTSA versus Texas State. Things to watch for. I have watched UTSA's game against A&M 4 to 5 times over the past few days, and I've watched Texas State's game over Eastern Michigan for about 3 times, I believe. And I was watching some earlier today. And there's some really key things that I wanted to point out for folks on both sides of the equation to watch for. I think it's going to be really important. The number one thing I want to talk about is both the teams' defenses. I think both teams have things to prove on that defensive side of the ball. I think UTSA had some high points and they had some very big low points that were exposed against Texas A&M. I think Texas State had some high points as well as they largely dominated that game, but they also had quite a few low points relevant to what I think UTSA is going to be able to do to their defense as well. So I want to just acknowledge that this is probably going to be a high scoring game because I think the offenses on both teams showed what they're capable of. And one of the things that you have to consider is now Texas State can only play who they were up against. They did not play a great team. They played Eastern Michigan, who's a MAC team who's not amongst the top of that conference. UTSA played a Texas A&M team that's in the SEC, and they are probably middle of the pack of that conference. So there's a huge difference between level of competition in that first week, but I think there were some huge nuggets that you can pull from both games that I think that'll be important. I was kind of looking at the lines, and this is basically a pick'em game, and I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Texas State's quarterback Brad Jackson performed a lot better than I expected him to. They got big performances from Lincoln Perry. They got big performances from Bo Sparks, who is someone that you'll see in some film that I'm going to show you here in a second. Obviously, UTSA offense from a ground game standpoint looked very good, but it was muted in the second half. There's a lot of improvement that needs to come from the quarterback position, and I don't think that last week's game was necessarily on the quarterback, but I think driving the ball downfield is going to be something that's uber important for UTSA, and they didn't show much of that, if any, against Texas A&M. But here are a couple things that I just want to highlight to you guys. I love doing the film thing. I promise I'm going to try not to bore you. I like to nerd out over these things, but I think I've broken some of this stuff down to a way to where I think it'll be easy to understand for you guys. So I want to I'm going to cover some things that I noticed in the Texas State game, and I'm just going to show touchdowns of Texas State. And there's something that points out. I'm going to show I hope you guys can see my mouse here, but at the very top of the screen is Bo Sparks, their GoDaddy from the receiver position. What you're going to see, let me make sure that volume's off. What you're going to see is he goes in motion. This is just to get a picture of what they're in. They're in man. Look at the heads here. They're locked in on their guy, right? He knows they're man. You're going to see Texas State do this multiple times. Right now, they run basically a clear out. This guy in front of Sparks basically clears these two guys out because they're in man. And guess what? This opens him up. And watch what happens. Boom, he catches the ball. Touchdown. Great concept. There you go. I want to get out, and I want to show you something specifically. I want to show you a touchdown that UTSA gave up against Texas A&M. Check this out. Similar concept. Now, the only thing that sucks here is at the bottom of the screen. I don't think you guys can see my mouse, and that's okay. You're just gonna have to bear with me here. But at the bottom of the screen here, at the very bottom, you only see one receiver down there, but there's actually a receiver in the corner. um, um, down there as well. So it's going to be the same exact concept here. This is something that UTSA gave up. Same exact concept. Now they run a play action off of this, so it sucks these three linebackers in. And now look, you got this guy that we can see at the bottom of the screen right here that we can actually see. He's man on. He's locked up with this safety here. He's gonna take him out. And guess what they do? Boom. They go inside. It's a similar concept, not exactly the same, but a similar concept. And look what he does. Those plays look eerily similar, don't they? Just something to highlight here. And going back to the Texas State game, one of the things you got to watch out with Texas State and what they like in their passing game is they like for this kid, Bo Sparks, to get in the inside. That was Lincoln Paris touchdown. So they like this kid to let me find it here really quick. They like to get him on in breaking routes. That's where they like him. So check this play out here. Let me find it. Here we go. So here's another situation, same concept. They got two receivers here at the bottom of the screen. Look, they got two receivers at the bottom of the screen. Same concept. The receiver that's further up the field, they notice they're a man again. I'm sorry. The receiver that's further up the field, guess what he does? He takes away two people by his route, basically just a clear out. And look who's wide open in the end zone by himself. Bo Sparks, another in-breaking route, same concept. Touchdown, easy. Nobody's touching him. Nobody's anywhere near him. Okay? Skip through a little bit more. Same guy scoring a touchdown, but look, same situation. They run the same exact play here. This time, Eastern Michigan runs. They line up in zone against it. No. Actually, they didn't. They did matching man again. Look at this. Now he goes up under this backer. Can't get to him still. Touchdown. That's just a leverage battle there. That's just a leverage battle. But guess what? Still same in-breaking route. They like him on those in-breaking routes quite a bit. It's crazy. So that's one thing I wanted to show. UTSA is just going to have to look out for those because it's obviously something that they had a lot of success with. And to the extent that UTSA plays man coverage, which they will, because we like to send man blitzes and things like that. Texas State's going to try to capitalize on that with in-breaking routes from that Bo Sparks guy. Now, if you're a Texas State fan, here's what you got to worry about. I noticed something that's a little new wrinkle. It's not necessarily like it's kind of a new wrinkle compared to what UTSA has done historically over the last couple of years. But UTSA has started lining up. Let's see. Let me find this. Henry's touchdown run. Yeah, UTSA has started lining up, guys, under center. UTSA passed very well. They did play action under center twice. It was one of them was almost a sack and it was an incompletion, and one of them was actually a sack toward the end of the game. But when we ran from under the center, this is a new wrinkle. Look how successful UTSA was. Check it out. Under center handoff, Robert Henry hits the sideline, tutty. 21 yards there. I think that's important. Texas State's going to have to. This is just something to watch for too. How does Texas State respond to that? Right, you don't see a lot of that under center stuff from UTSA much. It's just a bit of a new wrinkle. Now we got another play. This is the one right after halftime. This is the house call. Guess what? UTSA is under center. Look at the offensive line creating lanes. Guys coming in being overzealous. Boom, nice hole. Boom, beats a guy in the open field. House call. 2 touchdowns from this. Really nice to see. But like it's something that Texas State's going to have to be weary of, right? Check it out, different angle here. Nice play. Now, one of the things UTSA, I think, is going to have to. I just think UTSA. I'm going to go back into earlier in the game. If you get to seeing UTSA doing a lot more of this here, RPO, simple RPO. Check it out. Fake to Will Henderson. He could go up top. He has, I think that's Patrick Overmeyer and David Amador. Beautiful. If UTSA gets that going against Texas State, it's going to be a good night for the runners. But they didn't do much of that night. I just think Texas A&M defended it well. But I'm going to go to this last piece here. And this is what I think is more important than anything. Now, the personnel is going to be different, and this is garbage time. But what we did not see much of this at all from UTSA, not in a really good, productive way against A&M. But if UTSA is not able to do this against defenses just in general throughout the season, but we will definitely see it become a factor against Texas State. UTSA has to do this more. Brandon Tennyson, our quarterback too, is in at quarterback here. AJ Wilson is the receiver up top. Deep ball, beautiful throw, touchdown. We didn't do much of that. Look at that again. We realized that they're in man coverage here. Isolated on an island by itself. Take a shot and have someone that can finish. That's what UTSA needs. You got to have somebody who can finish. Got to have someone who can finish. That was a really great executed play. Great throw in the perfect position. That's a new transfer from, remember this guy played really well against UTSA last year, against Houston Christian. Against Houston Christian. Got to have somebody to finish. So those are the couple things I wanted to point out. Number one, UTSA is going to have to stop the in-breaking routes from Bo Sparks and that Texas State offense. They're just going to have to. They're going to find a way to window dress it, but they're going to get to the same exact things. I showed you 3-4 touchdowns where they did that, play in and play out. I didn't show the other one where it wasn't that exact same concept, but if you look at Bo Sparks, the other 4 touchdown that he had, it was an in-breaking route. The cornerback was lined up and shot out the outside leverage, and the quarterback put it on the money. So that's something just to be wary of, right? Like, what is UTSA's answer going to be to that? I have my thoughts on what they should and shouldn't do, but who knows how they're actually going to defend that, right? And then also for UTSA on the offensive side of the ball, they are going to have to stretch the field. Coach Traylor talked about it in the post game and in media day this week about how UTSA has to drive the ball downfield, and we have to have accuracy on those throws, and we have to have receivers making catches. Can't have many drops and things like that. When you think about last season and the game where Texas State blew UTSA out, one of the things Coach Traylor talked about that swung the momentum, or that could have swung the momentum in UTSA's favor, was a deep ball that was thrown, I believe, when the score was still within one possession in the first quarter, that Willie McCoy dropped. One of UTSA's main receivers dropped the pass. And he said last year that changed the game. That changed the game. We can't have a repeat of that this season with Texas State coming into the Dome. It's a completely different game. You got new leaders at quarterback. UTSA is bringing a lot more experience back on that offensive side of the ball. The offensive line is night and day different than what they looked like at this point last season, which I think is going to bode well for UTSA. Defensively, there's a lot of questions, and I guarantee you that Texas State's going to ask a lot of those questions and ask of UTSA to answer a lot of those questions in the game in the Dome this weekend. So anyway, I will give my score prediction and things like that on tomorrow's show. But today I wanted to give you guys just sort of some things to look for into the game this weekend. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Peace out.